Hey guys, Guggen Barbecue back, and today we're going to be cooking ribs. And I'm going to show you the easiest, most foolproof method that I've found to cook ribs. So if you're interested to see how I did this, go ahead and stay tuned. All right, we got our ribs out of the packaging. Let's go ahead and dry this meat off a little bit. Just gonna pat it dry. And we'll do a little bit of trimming. So I like to take off some, any of this loose fat or silver skin. I'll go ahead and slice that off. Anything that's hanging off that's just gonna burn or isn't gonna taste good or isn't gonna render, we're gonna take it off of this. And then this big flap of meat right here, we're gonna trim that down. You don't have to throw this away, you can use it for making sausages. That's looking pretty good. And then with the silver skin, a lot of people peel it completely off. That's perfectly fine. I just find that sometimes it's really difficult to do. And by scoring the membrane, I feel like I get pretty similar results. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and flip it back over. All right, I'm gonna trim off a little bit of this fat right here. And you don't have to, it'll mostly render out. But just make the end presentation look pretty nice. And then for this end right here, it's a little floppy and thin. I'm gonna go ahead and square it off. And yeah, out of the packaging, this looks pretty nice, so I'm pretty happy with it. And we're gonna go ahead and get our rubs on it. So I'm going with no binder. You can use mustard if you'd like, or you can use olive oil or Worcestershire sauce, whatever you would like. And the two rubs that I'm gonna put on here is Uncle Steve's Lucky Shake and Uncle Steve's Smoke Bomb. So he's got some really good rubs. He's not a sponsor of my channel, but I just enjoy his product and I thought I would see how it would taste on our ribs today. So we're gonna go ahead and get the Smoke Bomb on there first. Try to give it a nice even coat. And you can kind of pat it in. You don't rub or smear it into the meat, but just kind of pat it in and it'll help it adhere a little bit better. All right, we'll go ahead and get those sides while we're at it. Then we'll go ahead with our Lucky Shake. And that looks beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and let this rest for about 15-20 minutes. Let's get these ribs on the pit. And I'm doing the thickest part towards the fire, and this should give us some pretty even cooking. And you notice I kind of straighten up the ribs. So the way you lay them down is the way that they're gonna cook. So if they're kind of like turned like this, that's the way they're gonna cook, and that's the way they're gonna look when you pull them out and put them on a platter. So you want to make sure you straighten them up as perfect as you can. This isn't a competition or anything, but you want to make them look as nice as possible. And that looks good. So go ahead and we'll close this cooking chamber, and I'm going to target 275 throughout this entire cook. It's been 2 hours on the pit. Time to pull these off, and we're going to wrap them in aluminum foil and then put them back on the pit. All right, time to add our ingredients into this foil wrap. So I'm going to start with some Parquet Easy Spread butter. That's just gonna promote a lot of moisture. Then we're gonna put in some granulated sugar. Now you can use brown sugar as well. That's perfectly fine. We're gonna put a little bit more of our rub on there, and we're gonna add some honey. And normally I use tiger sauce, which is kind of like a mild hot sauce, but I don't have any. So we're gonna use this spicy barbecue sauce made by Blazing Star. So get our squeezed butter. That looks pretty good. We'll put some honey on there. So we'll get a little bit of this spicy barbecue sauce in here. And we'll put in some of this sugar. We'll sprinkle some more of our rub in there. So we did meat side up when we were smoking it. Now we're doing meat side down. And then we're gonna repeat the same steps. Now you can see we've got some of these, I don't know, stalagmites hanging off, coming out of the bone marrow. You can kind of pick these off. And then another thing that you can do, and I learned this from Harry Sue watching some of his videos, and what he says to do is kind of push the meat around the bones. As this continues to cook, that's going to allow that bone to poke out much easier and get that bone pull that you're really after. Let's go ahead and get this wrapped up. And I used 3 layers of aluminum foil. It seems to help out really good. All right, that looks good. So we're going to keep this meat side down inside the pit, and we'll check back in about 2 hours, and then we'll get our glaze on and finish them off. All right, so we pulled our ribs off the pit. It's been another 2 hours, and they're probing very, very tender. You can see I put some marks in there from using my meat probe, and they probe between 206 and 208, so I know they're done. So let's go ahead and open up this aluminum foil. Just take your favorite barbecue sauce and heat it up and get a basting brush, and we're going to brush that on the bottom and the top. Let's go ahead and get started. That looks beautiful. So let's get this back on the pit. Like I said, 15, 20 minutes. You can go all the way up to 30. Just depends on how tacky you want this barbecue sauce to be that we just spread on there. All right, we've got our ribs fresh out of the pit. They look unbelievable. So we're gonna cut them up and we're gonna give it a taste test and see how they are. Pull one from the middle. Oh yeah, that looks unbelievable. Let's give it a taste test. Not much left on that bone. So they aren't quite fall off the bone, but they pull very easily off the bone. This is my favorite way to make ribs. It is foolproof. If you follow this method, you don't have to use the same rubs, you don't have to use the same sauces, but if you follow the cooking method, I promise you, it's gonna turn out awesome. So cheers to everybody, good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.